You're listening to the Animation Addicts Podcast, episode 366, Animal Farm. But it might work for us. Welcome to the Animation Addicts Podcast with the Rotoscopers, the #1 place to get your animation fix with animation addicts just like you. Each episode, we dive into the wonderful world of animation featuring Disney, DreamWorks, Pixar, and everything in between. From hilarious discussions and movie reviews to interviews with industry insiders, this show's mission is to brighten your day through our love of animation. So hop on your nerdy couch, grab some snacks, and get ready to hang out with your animation besties because it's time to dive into today's episode. Hey there, animation addicts. I'm your host, Morgan Stradling, and I am just giving a quick little update before we dive into the episode. You may have noticed the past few months that we haven't been releasing episodes as frequently. We'd like to try to keep it on a once a week, we get a new episode every week schedule. However, I had a baby back in December, and newborns are crazy and they take a lot of time and they make you really tired. And so coming out of that, and I'm starting to feel, like I have more energy and I'm really able to get back into the podcast. And also Chelsea just moved to a new state and she's getting all set up there. And her dad recently passed. And so there's been a lot going on with family arrangements and the funeral and everything for that. So life is lifing, as they say. So definitely keep Chelsea in your thoughts and prayers. It really means a lot. And we appreciate all the support that you guys have continued to give us over the years and your patience with us during this time. So I do feel like in the next month, we will be back to our normal schedule. We will start picking it up a bit. But in the meantime, I have a really fun episode with one of my favorite guest hosts. And I'm not going to spoil who that is. But without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Hey there, animation addicts. I'm your host, Morgan Stradling, and I am joined today with a lovely co-host. I have Rachel Wagner of Rachel's Reviews and the Hallmarkies podcast. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi. I'm glad to be back.
So fun. She reached out to me and said, hey, let's do these two movies. I said, absolutely. So we are having a double feature back-to-back with Rachel, and we're going to be talking about Animal Farm, which has quite the controversy and lots of people talking about it. So it's going to be really fun. But before we do, how are you and what have you been up to?
Oh, I've been good. I've been very excited because I started a new show on my channel called Friday Flicks, Rachel's Friday Flicks. And I have different critics friends on. We talk about the weekend's movies. And it's been really, really fun. We're doing the 11th episode this week as a recording. And I'm very, very, very excited about it. Of course, you've got lots of fun stuff going on with Hallmark. They have The Way Home, One Calls the Heart. They just had a new series of Hope Valley 1874. So I'm keeping busy.
Yeah, Rachel, she covers all things, and which is great because I feel like there's too much to cover, but Rachel covers it all. And so when I need just a little bite-sized idea of, is this good? Is this worth it? I will go onto Rachel's page. I usually see them, but I'll go back and I'll see, okay, like what was Rachel's thoughts on this? And I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, it's fun to talk about these films, especially the animated films, because it's such an exciting, experimental time for animation. And I can't think of, outside of the Disney Renaissance, a more exciting era of animation. And in some ways, I think it's even more exciting than the Disney Renaissance because it's not just Disney. If anything, Disney's kind of fallen behind, but you have DreamWorks doing really interesting, surprising stuff. You've got Sony doing interesting, surprising stuff. You've got Laika, that trailer for Wildwood. Oh my gosh, incredible.
Finally.
You've got anime doing interesting stuff. It's cool. And you've got somebody like Gintz making Flow and so it's a very, very, very cool time to be an animation fan.
Yeah. A lot of great studios putting a lot of work, great work, lots of different things that are doing it. I just think it's interesting to see how the different studios have kind of ebbed and flowed in their output over the years. And, some are at a high point, some are at a low. And 5 years from now, we're going to look back, landscape's going to be totally different.
even this year, I think probably, even though I didn't mind the Mario, that's probably the most bland movie of the year. But even the failures this year have been kind of interesting failures.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, that was an interesting project. They tried. They took a swing.
Yeah.
Which is basically how I feel about Animal Farm.
So let's talk about Animal Farm.
Yes.
Okay, so Animal Farm. Let me pull up the basic information because this has a storied history.
Yeah. 13 years he worked on this.
Yeah, so do you want to tee off kind of the history of how this movie?
So Andy Serkis, this was his baby. He directed the film that I think it was originally he thought it was going to be a live action kind of a thing, and then it went into animation.
Oh yeah, but he wanted to do not a stop motion, a motion capture because he's the motion capture guy. Yeah. And that's his thing. And this was going to be his magnum opus.
He's been working on it for 13 years, which is interesting. That because you think that some of the imagery and some of the themes feel contemporary, that it feels like, okay, we're commenting on, on Donald Trump or on different things going on. And not to say that it isn't, because obviously they were still working on it over those 13 years, but it makes you wonder what part of it was developed when, and how did it evolve? But I don't understand why he felt such a need to. I even talked to him, and he basically wanted to give this political allegory to kids, and he and in that sense, I do think it's successful in the sense of you can watch it with your family, and you could, I think, have a pretty good discussion about the themes that they're at least trying to go for of that. How did they started with these high morals? They have these rules, they have all these things that they're wanting to do, and then they slowly get corrupted, and they lose those morals. And we talk about that scripture where the devil will lead you carefully down to hell. Mm-hmm. And you can see that in basically what happens with Napoleon and the other. So I liked it more than most. It's certainly not a masterpiece by any means, but I thought that it was interesting.
Yeah.
but I didn't. But yeah, I was joking on my podcast that I had a right wing and a left wing talking about it for Friday Flicks. And I was like, well, it turns out I didn't even need to do that. You just make a movie everybody hates.
Yeah. It doesn't matter your political affiliation. You're just not going to like it.
That's going to unite the country.
Yes. Who knew? This is the thing that we needed was Andy Serkis' Animal Farm. Okay, so let me get some basic information. So you talked about directed by Andy Serkis, the screenplay, Nicholas Stoller. Obviously, it's based on Animal Farm by George Orwell. It was released the 1st of May, 2026. Budget of $35 million. Box office so far, wow, I hadn't even keep up on this, $5.4 million, and distributed by Angel Studios, which there's so much drama about Angel Studios. How are they deviating from who they are? This is such a betrayal of their audience and the guild. And man, there's so much we could talk about the drama about this movie, or we just talk about the movie. And at this point, I feel like
realize that it was written by Nicholas Stoller. I hadn't connected that. But
what is he?
Nicholas Stoller. So he did the Muppets.
The 2010-ish one. Mm-hmm.
But then he's also done some more R-rated stuff like Bros and things like that. But that's an interesting. I'm a little surprised that I didn't realize. But yeah, it makes you wonder, how did he get involved in all of this? I mean,
how did a lot of people get roped into this project? That is I really want to know. I want a behind the scenes making of, a real true raw, not fluff, because how we got from point A to point B is very interesting to me, because it seems like, so one is they shift the message from anti-Stalinism, anti-communism, really to this anti-capitalist message. And there are elements of that in the book, but it's so funny to me because it really feels like Animal Farm, the process of making this film, was sucked in by capitalism in a way, in that he had this grand idea, this vision of this utopia movie that he wanted to make. And it just seems like over the years, who knows what happened? We don't know, but it seems like lack of funding and having to cave in on this or give on this, and slowly it's whittled down, and ultimately this grand vision of what you had ends up Animal Farm with fart jokes, and
it's true. I mean, and I saw it more as just a sort of, I didn't really see it as a specific ideology, but more of how these characters could let any firm belief get whittled away bit by bit by bit, right? And how they compromise here. So it didn't matter as much as a critique on any particular system or way of thinking. It was more just about how do we let that happen?
Yeah.
For any belief. But yeah, I mean, the attempts to try to make it really kid friendly, like why didn't they just make an Animal Farm for adults? Like, why did they care about it being particularly for kids? But he definitely did when I talked to him. And you can read on Rotoscopers, you can read the interview, but that he really wanted to do this. He wanted to make something for kids.
Yeah, it's so funny because Animal Farm, when you think about the book or the novella, it's grim, it's dark, it is not rosy in any way. I mean, every step along the way, it just really gets worse for the animals. And it really gives a vibe of The Secret of Nim, or even Watership Down. And those are films that kids can watch, and we don't have to hide it. We don't have to hide the darkness from them, those elements. Like, they can still take a lot from those films. And it's just a shame that he didn't just really stick to that vision and say, like, hey, this is going to be kind of a rough ride, but it's important.
Do you think that you could have like a family home evening with your kids? You could watch this with them and be like, okay, let's talk about it. How did they go? How did they get lost? They have these noble goals. They've written down the rules. Because that's kind of what I felt after. I was like, oh, I think it could be a good conversation starter with a family. But do you think that those kiddie elements are just too distracting?
I think you could. When you put it that way, like, hey, we're going to watch this movie and we're going to talk about the corruption that happens to all the various players. And let's talk about that and why that happens, and power corrupts and absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. Right. I think you can. And one thing that I did in my review, and I think you have to do with this movie if you are a big fan of the book, is I structured the beginning of my review of like, if you're a fan of Animal Farm, here's everything that this movie isn't. And let's like get that out of the way. If you were looking for a true adaptation of Animal Farm, like let's just get this out of the way. Here's what it's not. You're not gonna, and then okay, that's all. Okay, we got that out of the way. Here's what this movie is. Now let's just look at this movie. It's like Animal Farm with an Animal Farm skin suit.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of Snow White in a way, where Snow White, at least to me, it seemed very clear that I'm talking the 2025 Snow White.
Right.
That they had this idea of a movie that they wanted to make about this revolutionary sort of princess, and they'd completely gotten rid of the dwarves, and they were more these magical people or whatever they were supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then they got so much backlash that they shoehorned things in. And to me, it's so clear what scenes were added after the fact, and they cobbled together the story. And I just wish they would have had more of the guts to say, no, this is the story we're going to tell. But on top of that, let's not even like put the skin suit of Snow White on, and let's just make our own movie.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like this was. Like there's a movie here, but why does it have to have the veneer of Animal Farm? Because I think that really gets people irritated, and that really got me mad. I'm now I'm weeks away from watching this, where I can really like I can analyze it better.
You texted me after, and you're like, "Oh man, you were not happy."
I wasn't, but I've calmed down, and I now I'm like, okay, this is a movie, and it is what it is. So, as far as a movie, I mean, it does have morals that it's really trying to play, and it's. I was just watching this thing talking about children's literature, and he was saying like I don't read certain books like this to my children because it really panders to children. He said, they have the very, like the artwork goes almost as if a child done it. It's very blocky, and there's no, and he was saying like children, you don't need to pander down to children. Just because a child draws this way doesn't mean the art in a children's book needs to be that way. We can inspire children with elevated art and prose. And I think that applies to movies as well. I think we've really gotten down like, okay, you got to have these like funny moments and make it a comedy and have fart jokes. I'm like, I'm like, the fart jokes are so hated. yet they can't help themselves. Like, I want to be a fly on the wall of all of these things. When the fart joke gets introduced, like, what's the conversation? Who is pushing for this? Because I need to have a word.
Yeah. It's true that it does scream of an insecurity on their part, that they would have to kind of dumb it down for kids, that they got nervous. And I wasn't the biggest Hoppers fan, but you look at all of the very adult themes that are in that movie, and that's done very well. Kids seem to like it, just fine. I think sometimes we think that they need more help than they really actually do.
Yeah.
That the kids like something that's a little bit, challenging, something like Coraline or something like that. That's a little weird, different, scary, that they'll be interested in, or Nightmare Before Christmas or something like that. That's a bit of an allegory. I mean, just look at Zootopia. Zootopia is a political allegory, especially the first one, even more than the second. And I mean, I couldn't believe how much money that second one made. It's unbelievable. You can have confidence. And I mean, not that I don't sometimes enjoy something that's a little puerile, that's a little, if it makes me laugh, I'll own it. I always say funny saves all.
Yeah.
And so if I'm guilty snickering at the juvenile humor, I'll own it. I love Ricky Bobby, Talladega Nights, which is the stupidest movie ever made. I love
There's
it.
a time and place. I'm sitting here looking at the poster, and I'm just thinking about these characters and what the place that they play in the story, and they really, like, the sheep are this continual thread where they're just kind of repeating the mantras of the state and of the propagandists and of Napoleon. And in this one, we get maybe one instance of that, instead of really hitting it home and hammering it home. And the dogs right here, I mean, I feel like there was one instance of the dogs really being the enforcers, and then they were just like brushed aside. And so there's like all these different elements that play really well in the story, that they have them here, but they don't, Maybe
it would have worked better as a short. I haven't seen the 1954 film in a long, long time, but you look at something like the Lorax, or even the original Grinch. These sort of morality fables, they almost work better in a short. And then
you have to pad. You feel the need to pad.
Yeah.
So what I did like is I surprisingly loved Seth Rogen as Napoleon. When initially this was cast, like, there was all this backlash about him, and I thought he was great. I thought he did for this character in this movie. Fantastic job.
The voice acting and the animation. I don't think I'm fine with the actual animation. I think it's fine.
Yeah, Kieran Culkin I thought was great as Lucky, who kind of is not Snowball. He's a different character, Squealer. I think he's supposed to be Squealer. And I thought he was great. So, and I really loved Boxer, who I think is Woody Harrelson, right? Yeah, Woody Harrelson.
Yeah. He's good.
Did a really great job. And Andy Serkis, I think he's somebody in here. I can't recall.
It is interesting to think about the Angel Guild, Angel Studios Guild, because they have to approve all the projects, and there's controversy about this one, is that they skipped that. And I think I was feeling like, okay, it's because they really wanted that Young Washington movie. But Andy Serkis I've seen that movie now. And Andy Serkis, yes, I have. Andy Serkis is not in that movie that much. So
he has these big projects, but he plays kind of minor roles in them.
Yeah.
He's kind of moved to the sidelines. Interesting.
He's a general. He's in one little segment of the movie, but he's not a lead. I mean, so I don't think that's the reason. But yeah, you think, why did they? What were they thinking?
Yeah, at one moment in this film, it's when the pigs are wearing tracksuits and they're driving around in Lambos. That's really where it lost me. I'm like, okay, this is a wild ride. Like, this, whatever I was expecting, I don't know. This wasn't it. Yeah.
No, that's fair.
They go to the mall and they end up having this like shopping spree, and they think, it's hard because I I really like the original story. And there are elements in there, and they're really trying, the pigs in the home, standing on 2 feet, changing the rules,
And
but
then,
everything about it is just diluted. Where the impact, they don't even really go through all of the rules in this one. They really focus on the one, maybe a second one, and then everything else kind of like yada yada and not even mentioned. Whereas the rules and the changing of the rules and convincing people that of their false memories of these rules is really, really interesting. And so like all these really interesting elements of the book, they just dilute down or don't really focus. Like we mentioned those different characters, the dogs and the sheep, and everyone has their role to play. And all of that is just, barely hit on. And then we're focusing on these other elements, which we introduce kind of the villainess, which is Glenn Close's character.
Because they have the rules are whatever goes upon 2 legs is an enemy. Mm-hmm. Whatever goes upon 4 legs or has wings is a friend. No animal shall wear clothes. No animal shall sleep in a bed. No animal shall drink alcohol. No animal shall kill any other animal, and all animals are equal. Mm-hmm. So they start chipping away at this. I forget which is the one that goes down the first, if it's alcohol or if it's 2 leg. I think it might be alcohol is the first one, but then eventually they're wearing clothes. They're and how they rationalize it, that they're going against their commandments.
Yeah.
And they have these commandments in order to ensure equity and prevent animals from adopting human vices, because they see humans as the villain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the farmer in the beginning, was this drunken farmer, and that tracks, and then really mistreats all the animals, and so they're kind of fed up with this and said, okay, no more of this. And so they have this grand utopia, this vision of what life can be like. And it always starts this way. We have these grand ideas, and this is going to work. And then human nature, or in this animal nature, I guess, in this instance, corrupts. There's always someone who's going to take it and try to benefit themselves or their group, and at the expense of others. And so we see that.
Well, it's like not to overquote scripture, but the natural man is an enemy to God, and has been since the fall of Adam, and will be forever and ever.
It's true.
It's true. And you look at how they subtly change the commandments, and that's part of what can be very, very deceptive. They change it to no animal shall kill any other animal without cause. They change it to no animal shall drink alcohol to excess. They change it to no animal shall sleep in a bed with sheets. No, 4 legs good, 2 legs better. So.
And then obviously the big main one is that, what is it? All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others.
Yes, that's the final. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. And then they gaslight the animals that, you didn't, this is the way it's always been. You didn't remember that other.
See, I'm trying to think in the book, I think they're learning how to read. There's some animals that are that know how to read, and they're learning how to read, and then they change it. And then I think because they're still learning how to read, they're able to use that against them. Like, oh, well, you just read it wrong. You don't, and they're like, oh, okay. Yeah.
It's interesting. So I give them credit for trying to start conversation.
Yeah.
And for trying something different, but it didn't work out.
Yeah, there were some elements that I thought, if you're going to do it, I liked, they do the water wheel instead of the windmill. They have this villainess come in, and she's kind of like a private equity sort of thing, where she buys up all of the, land.
True.
And then he ends up working with her to build up his thing. And then in the end, but then, so you mentioned, I listened to your Friday Flicks, and you were talking about the 1954 film. And initially you said, it was a 70s film.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
And I when I was listening, I was like, it is the 50s. However, Rachel's not wrong, because the 50 film, or it gives such a 70s vibe.
It really does.
It has like similar animation and style.
Yeah.
Like, so it was it was ahead of its time.
It really was. I mean, and it must have caused quite a splash if you think about the 50s with the Red Scare and everything that they were doing, investigating people and
well, and that one was funded by the CIA.
Oh, the movie was?
Yes.
Oh,
yes. And so, yeah, that one's interesting. It's interesting to go back. And it's so funny because that one's very true to the book, except the ending, and this one as well. Because they go about it different ways. In the ending, they change it where it's a happy ending, you know. And Napoleon ends up dying, and then, you know, they're on their own. And this one, it's a similar thing. And it's just hilarious to me how this one just misses the mark so much, where they have this the dam breaks, right? And there's this big flood and everything. And ultimately, Napoleon's gone and the animals are back at it. And they said, okay, communism didn't work the first time. Let's try it again. And they literally say, like, well, now that he's gone, it's going to work this time. And it reminds me of the Arrested Development meme where Tobias is talking about having an open marriage with his wife because he's a therapist.
Right.
Well, he talks about how all of his clients, like, he's like, oh, they always try to do this open marriage thing and they think it's going to help their marriage. And she says, well, does it work? And he says, no, but maybe it can work for us. Yeah. And that's exactly what I think this is. It's like, well, this communism, this ideal, this, you know, capitalism, whatever the allegory is there, it didn't work, but maybe it'll work for us. And they literally go back to the beginning and like, we're going to fix it.
I mean, and I guess that's what has made the American system so effective is in these last, 250 years is that it was set up in a way that allowed adaptation, allowed, these amendments that allowed it to be a different government now than it's still, the core is the same, but it was allowed to evolve, where these systems are not allowed to evolve. And yet human nature is going to force them to evolve, which is then what causes corruption, as we see in the story.
Yeah. Yeah. It really has more of an anti-cronyism message, which I'm fine with, because I think that's important because it's your in-group. It's okay, we're going to use this for the benefit of our group and be corrupt to help benefit and raise our ships instead of everyone else's.
And I guess I thought of it more as like, we have high ideals of what we want in, say, family, in our lives, in our relationship with God, things like that. And when we allow ourselves to kind of be chipped away at and compromise. So I was thinking of it more on a personal almost level, more than a system critique, kind of a thing. But,
yeah, I think that's a good way to take it, because it really doesn't fit into a box very well with how they've done it. But
which is a shame, because that was their big goal. Like, again, you refer to the interview. That's what he really wanted to do, a political allegory for kids. So in that sense, my interpretation is actually not what they were going for. I don't think.
No, but it does work. It does work that way, as seeing, okay, if you were in this situation and you see everything around you, these are things to look out for, and these are things to pay attention and avoid, and help others avoid. Yeah.
It's hey, they took a swing. They tried. I certainly don't think it's one of the worst animated films ever made. Like, you're hearing a lot of hyperbole. I'm not even close to there, but it wasn't particularly successful either.
Yeah. And you mentioned the animation, and let's talk about animation in like this modern age, because they all have the same software, it seems, or they have variations, right? There's always some studios that still have their proprietary, and there's lots that you can do with it. You could go all different directions with animation, but the software really makes it possible. And, people initially were like, oh, the animation is terrible. It's so generic. It looks like a home video, whatever the equivalent of that is now. But but watching it doesn't feel that way. Like, the animation is fine. Like, it's kind of the standard fine. You really can't be mad at it. I mean, if we go back to the 90s and 80s and like the television shows and the animation that they were doing with, because everything was by hand and everyone has different skill levels. Yeah. I can't get mad at at this. And I'm trying to see the studio. It is Cinecite, I think, the Imaginarium
Yeah, I don't
Productions.
know any of those.
But I'm not familiar with these studios. They're smaller studios. Then there are actually a lot of studios that are around and doing things, and they just need someone to, believe in them. Kind of like the studio that did David.
Yeah, which was also distributed by, and David was actually really good, I thought.
Yeah. Angel Studios is really interesting because they're a distributor. They don't really make their own films, but they've really kind of created this name for them that's synonymous with the work at the studios.
It does make you wonder why.
I don't know, dude. I don't know if other studios have that.
Well, and they have their unique. Some people think it's more dubious than others. Their unique ticket system, pay it forward kind of ticket system, and some other things. But I can appreciate the innovation. Trying to think of things in a new way. Mm-hmm. And I, for the most part, have liked their films that I've seen. But you had mentioned that they had just gone public, or they went public last year. And I do sort of wonder, because it's not only that there was a movie, it was called like I Was a Stranger or something like that. It was about the refugee experience. It was quite good, but I was really surprised because it was very violent. And I just was not expecting that from Angel Studios. And I'm like, the Guild really approved that? So they might be getting a little fast and loose with their Guild. I don't know. But it does seem like this seems like a very weird project for them to take on. I don't know what.
Yeah. So do you think they would do it again based on how this went?
No. I don't know if they were just trying to kind of reach new audiences, trying something new. But no, it's been a total disaster. Like, not just financially, but just in every way.
Yeah.
It's been it'll definitely go down as one of the biggest flops of the whole year.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't that expensive, thankfully. So
yeah,
only $35 million.
But they could have spent that on something else. It's interesting because I feel like they're wanting to be this family friendly brand that maybe has really great dramas or just interesting. I don't know. How would it just, like, they want to be family friendly, but they have these other films that aren't necessarily, like Sound of Freedom, for example. You wouldn't bring your family to that.
Right.
They're just telling different stories. And I think animation, they want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And so I think this was something that was maybe lacking in their.
It's just most of their films have, even I Was a Stranger, and that's clearly come from I Was a Stranger, You Took Me In. It's so there is most of their films have an inspirational element. Whether they're outright faith-based is, another question. But they at least feel like, okay, they're trying to inspire, they're trying to motivate, where this is the opposite. This is cynical. This is about the worst of human nature. Like, whoa, it just feels so off-brand.
I really, this makes me yearn for a dark, gritty motion capture version of Animal Farm.
It's true, we couldn't have gotten what he originally wanted.
Yeah, I think if we could have gone down that, and it wouldn't not make it so dark that it's not possible for children, to watch it, where it's so. I mean, there are murders and things like that in it, but I still feel like that could have been something cool for children to see if they just would have trusted in it. Yeah. And I mean, you interviewed with him. Did he seem very kind of like over it at that point?
A little bit. He was it was funny because he was on the way to the airport and he's like, I'm heading out to film Lord of the Rings. I'm like, okay, wow, our lives are very different. So he had already, kind of moved on, but it was, I was so bummed because my stupid phone didn't capture, the app didn't work. So I didn't get the audio. But at least I had a written, interview, at least that's something, and I've been taking notes and stuff. But anyway, I mean, he maybe sounded a little bit over it, but
he's like, this is finally done.
But I can't really, because he was literally in a car on the way to the next project. So it would make sense that you'd be over it, even if it was something that you loved.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine 13 years working on a project that it would be hard to keep up your motivation.
Your zest, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just want to get it released.
Okay. What would you rate this film?
I'd give it 2.5 out of 5. That's what I gave it. I'm right in the middle on it.
Yeah. I gave it 1.5 stars. It just was not for me. Even taking the Animal Farm out of it, taking the Animal Farm out of the farm, even just watching it as a movie, it just didn't have a ton that I really connected with. That it just, if I'm going to show my kids a movie, it wasn't going to be this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell you though, just real quick, the movie that I would give 1.5 to is actually, there's an anime film called Labyrinth, which is absolutely terrible. It was really bad. And
what's so bad about it?
Just the story. It's about this girl who gets lost in her phone, and she, oh gosh, now it's been a couple weeks, but that she has these stickers that like follow her, and I just hated the story. It was very cringe, and the animation felt like, okay, you're trying to copy all of these other people. And the music felt like, okay, you're trying to copy all these other people, what they've done. But yeah, it's trying to be like some kind of Alice in Wonderland in a phone. Trust me, it's really bad.
Okay. All right. So I will not be partaking in that one.
Our friend Animated Antic, he also gave 1.5 stars.
Oh.
And he says, watching Labyrinth is almost as if I was watching the train crash from The Fugitive happen in front of me in real life.
Oh, no.
It's like, it starts off bad and then it just gets worse and worse and even worse.
Oh, yikes.
And once it's finally over, you're left in disbelief to what you've just witnessed.
That's funny.
So I agree.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a big no.
On Letterboxd, I just wrote, well, I didn't like that at all.
That's awesome.
Anyway, it's very bad.
All right. Let us know your thoughts of Animal Farm.
Yeah.
Do you like it? Do you not like it? Are you big fans of the original, meaning the original, the book, and the other version? There's also a 1999-ish version that was supposedly pretty good. Yeah. It's more of a live action kind of babish way that they do that. And so, let us know your thoughts. Go to rotoscopers.com/366 and give us your thoughts there. And Rachel will be joining us on our next episode. But in the meantime, where can people find you?
You can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and Rotten Tomatoes, all over the place, and at Hallmarkies Podcast.
Woo-hoo. All right. And until next time, we are the Rotoscopers. You've been listening to the Animation Addicts Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and be sure to leave us a 5-star review. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you want to help spread the word, be sure to share the podcast with your friends on social media. Just don't forget to tag us at Rotoscopers on Instagram and use the hashtag Animation Addicts. For all the links and full show notes for this episode, go to rotoscopers.com/podcast. Now, if you still can't get enough for your animation fix, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and visit rotoscopers.com for more animation news, reviews, and interviews. Thanks for listening.